This episode is brought to you by the Women's Foundation. Join the largest fundraiser in the state to protect women's progress and create economic opportunity. The Women's Foundation of Colorado's annual luncheon is on Thursday, September 10th at the Colorado Convention Center. This year will feature special guest comedians Cristela Alonzo and Margaret Cho. To purchase tickets and learn more about the Women's Foundation of Colorado's annual luncheon, visit WFCO.org. That's WFCO.org. Welcome to CityCast Denver. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. So today we're talking about DSA's endorsement for a candidate in the mayor's race that is still very far in the future, what to do about a Broncos parking lot, our big feels on Dolly Parton, and more. Denver Post City Hall reporter Elliot Winsler, hello.
Hey, Bree. Happy to be back.
Good morning. This is great. I'm so excited to see you.
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's talk. We're talking about a mayor's race that is not until next April, but some big news broke this week. Denver DSA announced their endorsement for sitting District 8 Councilwoman Chantel Lewis, who is running for mayor, and they are endorsing her. This came out on Tuesday. There's so many questions here. Before we get into those, Elliot, give us some TLDR, give us some info on how this all rolled out.
Yeah, it's so funny to hear you say that it's so far away, because in my mind and in my world, I'm like, what do you mean? It's going to be here any minute, because November is going to be here any minute, and then April is going to be here any minute. But that is not how everyone else in the world's calendar works. So I do recognize that we're talking about this earlier than most people, I think, expected. But Denver DSA has been, working on this. They have an internal process where they have like campaign forums, and they have an opportunity for their members to really deliberate about if they want to possibly endorse someone. And then they ultimately take a vote of all of their members to decide whether or not they're going to endorse someone. And so that whole process has been playing out. And that is what happened. I'm not sure when they actually finished that process, but they announced the decision just this week that they are going to endorse Councilwoman Lewis for the mayoral race.
Yeah, this is so interesting from a lot of angles, but I think one, like we've just been talking about, is the earliness of it. So we know other folks are going to jump into this race. Like you mentioned, most normal people who are not reporters or in the news world are not really thinking about this yet because there's a lot of life that's happening right now. And I think folks will start thinking about this in, the early spring before, maybe in 2027, I should say.
Right.
So I did find it interesting that this was so early. I don't know. I wonder what this signals to other progressive candidates, or, is DSA just trying to make their mark early to start rallying folks around one candidate? What are your thoughts on it?
I don't want to speak for Denver DSA, because I'm not sure exactly why they wanted to go ahead and roll out this endorsement right now. Some things I do know, I actually just this morning was on a call about some polling that's coming out right now, Denver specific. They polled about the mayor. They polled about Councilwoman Lewis. They polled about socialism. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in there. But one thing that was a big takeaway for me is that Councilwoman Lewis doesn't have a lot of name recognition. About 65% of respondents said they had never heard of her. And so that's significant.
The Colorado Polling Institute's poll. Yes.
Yes.
And we know that plays a huge role, obviously, in races, because if folks don't know, you're starting from zero, essentially.
Right.
And she is, to be fair, she is a sitting council member, but she's first term.
Right.
She was on the RTD board. So it's not that she wasn't totally unknown, but, the numbers do say something about, and people will get to know her as this campaign moves on, because again, we're just so early.
Yeah.
I think another thing I want to quickly touch on, because several folks are already in this race too. It's not just Chantel, obviously. Lisa Calderon, past guest of the show, has run in the past 2 mayoral races. She is in this for the 3rd time. She has historically been endorsed by DSA. Her campaign said in a social media post, for those who are asking, Lisa was invited to apply for the Denver DSA endorsement. And as a dues-paying member and formerly DSA endorsed candidate, DSA matters to Lisa. She ultimately did not apply, not over disagreement with DSA's values, but because of internal chapter politics that conflict with those values. So, I mean, there's more. We'll share a link to that in the show notes, but, she's responding to why her part of the participation in this.
Right.
Again, she's just one progressive, other fellow progressive person running for this. I imagine there's going to be more. It's August.
Yeah, definitely seems possible. And I guess what she's trying to make clear there is that she didn't apply for this endorsement. So it's not like they went through this process and then people voted and DSA members chose Chantel. They didn't, she wasn't in the process. And so I guess that's kind of part of what my takeaway is from hearing that statement. But yeah, I mean, there's still a long way to go on this race. Obviously, Denver DSA has a lot of momentum right now after the Milot Quiros win over Diana DeGette. So I think that it's meaningful that they're coming out and endorsing a candidate. And I think especially, the polling results also show that more Denverites view socialism favorably and more identify as socialists now than they have in the past. It's really gearing up to be an interesting race. I'm not sure how similar it will actually be to the one between Diana DeGette and Milot Quiros, but I think a lot of people are going to want to make that comparison. But I think we we need to maybe wait and see. Mike Johnston is not Diana DeGette. Chantel Lewis is not Milot Quiros. These are different people. It's not a federal race. There's just a lot of differences at play. And it remains to be seen how similar it'll actually be.
I think you're right. I think that's one of the bigger conversations that's happening for folks that are talking about this at the moment is how are progressive organizations across the country capitalizing on these wins that didn't just happen in Colorado, but happened across the country. But again, it's not apples to apples here. These are different races, different candidates, different name recognition, different roles in general. We're also talking about a municipal election versus a congressional election. And the name recognition part we discussed with the recent poll. So there's a lot of factors, but I see why there's the tendency to pull towards that because I think everybody's looking for, this has just been a constant, everybody's looking for their Mom Donnie moment. Everybody's looking, and we can't compare ourselves to New York City. We can't, and again, that's a mayor's race, which is cool. That was a really interesting mayor's race. Totally different than what we're dealing with here in Colorado.
Yeah, things only ever really seem to make sense in hindsight, and we don't have that yet.
As a person that has worked on a progressive campaign with other progressive candidates in the race, it can be hard because there's always this talk of splitting the vote, which I find frustrating because I think folks still should have the full right and capability to feel informed in their choice, not just I need to get behind the person that everybody says. But this is kind of an early on, I think, signal of that is DSA, a powerful group on the left here in Denver, is saying this is who we're behind. So it'll be interesting to see who else shows up and how voters ultimately respond to that.
Yeah, one other thing I want to point out too is this also means that the members of Denver DSA, the volunteers who helped Milot Quiros become elected, are now going to be out there trying to get Chantel Lewis elected. And obviously that was a really powerful group of people, and even more people have joined that group since that win.
True.
Yeah, I just think that's going to be interesting to see how much the door knocking, how much the ground game makes a difference here.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely, I don't want to try to get into the deep politics of how we got to this moment, but I think it is that individual one-on-one connections that folks were making. I follow Tim Hernandez on Instagram, obviously a former legislator, educator who's really, really been involved on the DSA side of things. And he was just recording himself every day during the Milot Quiros campaign, going out and knocking doors. And he was sort of filming his conversations without showing directly the person, but just the conversations he was having. And I thought it was a really cool way to fully understand what it means to do that person-to-person connection, to get someone interested in a candidate that, again, may not have the name recognition initially that, someone else who's been in politics for a long time has. So the grassroots of it all, I find really fascinating and honestly energizing. I think that's the other thing is this is not till April, but before that, in this November election, nationally, we're talking about some big things that could determine the future for the next, 20, 30 years. And I think this is part of that conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that question of what happens next is playing out at every level. And that includes, in our neighborhoods right here in Denver.
Well, I'd love to hear what listeners think. I know you all are pretty politically engaged. You're listening to this show, but I would love to know, do you think this is early? What is this a sign of for you? What are you thinking? Are you thinking about the mayor's race in April? And just give us a call, 720-500-5418. Again, you can send us a text or shoot us a voicemail, which we love. Let us know what you're thinking about the 2027 mayor's race. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are talking about the Broncos and a parking lot. This episode is brought to you by Shalott, Hatton, and Banker. In Denver, looking out for your neighbors is being part of the community. At Shalott, Hatton, and Banker, a Denver-based personal injury law firm, they bring that same mindset to every client they represent. A serious injury can turn your life upside down. Suddenly, you're dealing with doctors, insurance companies, missed work, and uncertainty about what's next. During times like these, having the right legal team can make all the difference. For more than 40 years, Shalott, Hatton, and Banker has represented injured Coloradans with experience, compassion, and personal attention. They prepare every case carefully, taking the time to understand each client's story and remain focused on helping clients recover physically, financially, and emotionally. If you or someone you love has been seriously injured, visit shalottlaw.com. That's CHALAT law.com. Or call 720-792-7322 for a free consultation. This episode is brought to you by Colorado Chinese Medicine University. Check out the second Colorado Acupuncture and Herbal Medicine Expo, free and open to the public, happening Saturday and Sunday, August 29th and 30th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Sturm Hall on the University of Denver campus. Put on by Colorado Chinese Medicine University and DU's Noble Institute for Healthy Aging. Colorado's 60 and over population is projected to hit 1.5 million by 2030, outnumbering kids in the state for the first time, which is part of why events like this exist. Speakers will cover topics like Parkinson's, diabetes, and cancer, as well as mental health, exercise, movement, lifestyle, and more. Stop by the free acupuncture clinic on site or try community Tai Chi and Qigong in the park before and after the event. There will also be traditional dragon dancing performances on both days and herbal medicine and meditation sessions. The second Colorado Acupuncture and Herbal Medicine Expo is free, but RSVP is highly encouraged. Please visit the link in the show notes for more information. Okay, Elliot, you were on this story. We're talking about something that you reported recently about a particular parking lot owned by the Broncos and what to do with it, and a certain council member that is not on board with what has been presented. Can you give us the story? What's going on with Broncos parking lot M?
Yes. So this is kind of in the weeds here, dear listener, but stay with me if you're interested in what's going on with Burnham Yard, what's going on with the Broncos. This parking lot is very key to kind of everything that's going to happen next. So a big part of the negotiations around the Broncos moving to Burnham Yard is that Denver Water needs to be able to move from its 100-year home in Burnham Yard. And they've said that they're happy to do that as long as their ratepayers are not having to pay for that. Obviously, they don't want to have to rebuild their entire structure themselves. And so they've been working with the Broncos and with the city to try to find where their new headquarters can be. And most of it is going to be up in the Elyria-Swansea neighborhood, is part of the agreement that they've decided on. But there's one building that really needs to be in central Denver because it's their emergency response facility. So this is like where they have trucks located that can go out at any time if there's like a water line break or some kind of emergency related to Denver Water's, very important services throughout the city and throughout the region. And so that needs to be centrally located so that it can get to many places. The spot that they had initially decided on was this parking lot, Lot M, that is located by the current Empower Field, the current Broncos Stadium. It's supplemental parking there right now.
And this is Sun Valley.
Yes.
Where their headquarters are not far from this. It's a couple blocks from this Lot M right now.
Correct. Yes, because it's at where it's in Burnham Yard currently, which is not far away. These are all like really close together, actually, is pretty interesting. But the problem now is that the surrounding community is basically saying, wait, we have been, working on a plan for this exact area, for this interchange that is nearby for years. Sun Valley doesn't want to continue to have this area feel like this very car-centric industrial area. They want it to be friendly to pedestrians. They want to have, neighborhood restaurants and stores and things like that. And they see this plan of Denver Water moving their emergency facility there as just like complete in opposition to what they want to see have happen there.
Is this, when you're talking about the infrastructure that is not pedestrian friendly, are we talking about the Colfax Federal Cloverleaf?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was thinking about this the other day. A gentleman who used a wheelchair died. He was a pedestrian. I think he was crossing West Colfax right there.
Wow. And
he was hit by a car. And so, and again, this is one of many unfortunate stories, but it's one of those stories I think about when we think about the Cloverleaf and what they want to do with it, which is, that's like a technical term too. I just want to say it's like it's kind of like the highway overpass where all of a sudden, Federal and Colfax look like highways for a minute. I mean, they function as highways, let's be fair. But like, instead of being at ground level of an intersection, they're these, big bridge pieces.
There are these, like, from a bird's eye view, cloverleaf turnarounds so that people can change which direction they're going. And it's basically like an interstate exit right there in the middle of that neighborhood.
And so my Councilwoman Jamie Torres, is opposed to this, and she's been overseeing this project. She's like the city, obviously, it's her district, but she's also been integral in this conversation around what's happening with Burnham Yards and the community relationship to it and such. What's she saying about this potential project?
Yeah, so as you said, I mean, this is all within her district, which also speaks to how close together all these things are. The old stadium, the new stadium site, the interchange. And so I've been talking with her a lot throughout this process, and she's been working hard trying to figure out like what is workable as a person who represents this district on council, which, important note, council would have to approve Denver Water going there. So that's why council is such a key part of this. And I reached out to her recently, and she said she no longer thinks that it's a workable solution. She said basically she's given the community more information. She's talked with them many times, and they are not getting more comfortable with this idea. And so what she said to me, to paraphrase, is, if there's just not any buy-in from the surrounding community, or at least acceptance, it's just going to be really hard to get it through council. And so she is only one of 13 council members, but she obviously carries a lot of weight here among her other council members are likely to look to her to see what she's learned from her community. That's usually kind of how the process goes on council. And so she's now at a point where she's saying, I don't think this is going to work. We're going to have to find another place, which if you've been listening to all this, you might be able to see, oh, that seems like it could be sort of a wrench, a wrinkle in this whole plan to get the Broncos to Burnham Yard.
Yeah, I was like, is there another location that's being considered? Because
I don't know of any specific locations that are being considered, but I know of specific, like, other options that could happen. I'm sure that there are other parcels that exist, but the question is, how do you get them? Is the Broncos going to buy another parcel? Is the city going to find another one of their parcels that they can sort of donate to this cause? I mean, is some developer going to just decide they're going to give up their parcel for free? You know, that seems unlikely, but there's many options. But something needs to happen in order for Denver Water to feel comfortable agreeing to this whole plan to move their facility. Obviously, they don't want to not be able to do their jobs.
Right. And like we as citizens want to be able to know that Denver Water has access to our neighborhoods as quickly as possible.
And we all know Denver Water's going through a lot right now.
Right. Right. And like, I think this is a really interesting microcosm of city projects, right? Because we're looking at one parking lot, but it involves our sports team and some very, very powerful, very rich stakeholders. It involves the future of what the city is going to look like and how like the actual built environment will lay out and how that interacts with or doesn't interact with the community that already exists there. And then there's a public utility involved. So it's
definitely. I don't know if I've said this on this show before, but I put in a story a while back and I'm just like really glomming onto it that it's like the setup of a Rube Goldberg machine is everything that's happened so far. It's like they're setting up the little dominoes and the little toy cars and the little pulley and rubber bands. And like, that's what everyone's doing is they're like putting all these in place, but we still have not pressed go.
Yes.
It's kind of just, we're still in the process of setting all that up to see if this plan can happen and if it can happen in the time frame that the Broncos want.
You know, and I have to say anecdotally, the far-reaching consequences of the Burnham Yard project were very apparent to me last week when I went to a back-to-school night for my son's kindergarten class. It was not for the whole school. It was for about 30 families. And the city had a person set up with a table to talk about Burnham Yards at his elementary school kindergarten back to school night. And I heard so many parents. This is clearly a very engaged parent. I'm learning parent community. A lot of urbanists, I think, in the crowd who are just like,
interesting.
Oh, I already know about this. I'm concerned about the traffic coming into the neighborhood. And I was actually kind of surprised at how many folks were talking about it. Because
probably some of the kindergartners too.
Right? Because it's like we talk about this stuff because we look at it every day. But again, I think for most folks, until that thing starts happening in your neighborhood, a lot of times you're just not aware of it because you're living your life. So
totally.
The far-reaching consequences of Burnham Yards, it's interesting to see how it's going to play out for us.
Yes.
On that note, before we move on, do we know what's next? Like, what are we looking for with this Lot M, Denver Water, Burnham Yards situation?
That's a good question. There's so many things that still need to happen next with the overall plan. Like the community benefits agreement still needs to be worked out. And that's a conversation between the immediate community and the team about what they will do for the surrounding community. This Lot M side of it, I think we're just waiting to hear what solution leaders come up with. I mean, it's going to be the mayor's office, city council, Denver Water, the Broncos are all going to be working on this. And so I think we're sort of just waiting to hear what they come up with. And then, you know, still have to see the finalized plans for the development. Money has to change hands for the Broncos to actually buy the land. There's lots of things.
So many pieces in motion. Well, we'll be checking back in with you because you are the knower of all these things as they first happen.
Well, thank you. I went on sports radio to talk about this recently, and they were like, "You're not someone we normally have on." And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. But it was great. They were super kind. And but it was just, I never saw in my career being on sports radio.
But that's super cool, too, because you're sharing your knowledge of how these things all interplay with each other with folks that really care about sports, which is an integral part of city planning, it turns out, which I also have learned from just doing this work.
Collision of worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, if you are a CityCast Denver neighbor, if you are a member, you're part of our membership program, you get a special bonus segment. Elliot and I are talking about the life and impact of Dolly Parton. I know it's on so many folks' minds. I've got a little local connection I'm excited to share, but this is only if you are a CityCast Denver neighbor. So if you are not a neighbor, go to membership.citycast.fm, sign up today, and you can hear this little extra tidbit. This episode is brought to you by Blue Sky Plumbing. It's back to school season, Denver, and that means your home has a whole new routine to keep up with, too. Blue Sky Plumbing's back to school savings are here to help. Save $500 on a tankless water heater for hot water that keeps up with busier mornings. Save $100 on a home surge protector to handle all those extra devices and chargers. And get 10% off water quality product installs to help make sure what's coming out of your tap is one thing less to worry about. Real savings on the upgrades your home actually needs. Head to blueskyplumbing.com. Blue Sky's got your home covered, Denver. All right, it's time for our wins and fails of the week. Things that ruled, things that sucked. As always, we start with our bummers so we can end on a good note. Elliot, what is your fail this week?
Okay, I feel like I have brought really bummer fails when I've done wins and fails. So this time it's like, I think a little more lighthearted, but still a fail. And it's about Metro Denver schools that now are having to warn their students about bears.
Oh my gosh.
Like, students have so much on their mind already. And now it's like, and while you're trying to dodge the drama of being a 7th grader, also keep your eye out for bears because they are desperate and coming into, our communities on the Front Range more and more. And so students need to keep an eye out for them.
Because there was a bear sighting in Platt Park. Which is a residential city neighborhood.
Deep in Denver.
Yes, that has schools. And I drove through it yesterday.
Yeah. But part of me is like,
That's
is
crazy.
This, and I'd love to hear from all of the, 7th graders and students who are listening to the podcast. Would this be kind of cool? Like if you saw a bear, would it be like sort of when there's, just like a fire drill or something and you get to go out and hang out with it, just breaks up the monotony of the day? Would it be cool to see a bear, or would it be like, no, we are scared and we don't want to see a bear?
I think if you were inside your classroom, it would be cool.
Yeah.
If you were on your playground, maybe not so cool.
Maybe, yeah. Yes.
That's crazy. So watch out for bears.
Yep.
Children. Oh my God. Now I'm thinking about that. I'm like, oh, good. Okay,
oh yeah.
Another thing for parents to worry about while their students are their kids are at school.
True.
It's crazy. Well, I guess I'll carry on your bummer legacy. I have a really sad story that does involve students. Another North High School student has died. This is the second student at the school in the last month to die by gun violence. 18-year-old Yorbelis Gutierrez Arena was killed in an apparent murder-suicide earlier this month. Again, she was 18 years old. She was going to be a senior this year. She's the second student. 17-year-old Giovanni Ramos was also killed at a house party in the summer that he attended. As far as they can tell, he had nothing to do. He was just at a party. Giovanni was a student of some of my friends at Lake Middle School before he had moved on to North High School. And to watch this community grieve over the last couple of weeks has been devastating. I donated to his GoFundMe and I get updates almost every day from his mom sharing on the GoFundMe just what she's going through. And I just, as a parent, I can't imagine, but my heart just goes out to Yorbelis and Giovanni's families. This is totally preventable. And I'll put some links in the show notes to places you can donate to support these families and this community here in Denver at North High School. But why are we losing students to gun violence in 2026?
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on to wins. So we have something nice to end on. I'll just go really quickly. The Ghost Canyon Festival is happening this weekend on South Broadway. Also on the north side at the Bug Theater, they're hosting some shows. This is a cool DIY, weirdo, outsider experimental music festival that's been happening for a few years. I am always excited to hear more festivals happening. Please, more. Denver has such a wealth of incredible musicians. And I haven't been to Ghost Canyon myself. I had some friends that came into town just to go to this festival. So I think that's really cool. My friend Maddie Johnston, who goes by Midwife, is performing. She came out of the Rhinoceropolis sort of scene. She was an integral player there and putting on shows and hosting shows. And she's been touring for many years as Midwife. She's doing incredible. This is a kind of special opportunity to see her back in Colorado. She's a New Mexico native, but she spent so much time here and has been here for a long time doing incredible work. But go support Ghost Canyon Music Festival.
Wow.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, very cool.
I love new music festivals.
I'm with you on the more festivals and events. Let's have as many as we can.
Please.
Yeah.
Love the local.
Lovely.
I love the local musicians. All right. Take us out, Elliot.
Well, my win is a festival that is unplanned, at least by humans, because it's a celestial event.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the partial lunar eclipse that's going to be happening tonight for folks who are willing to stay up until at least 11 p.m. You can have the chance to enjoy this lunar eclipse. It's going to begin at about 8:30 tonight, and it'll look like it has like a bite taken out of the moon. And then around 10:13, the moon is apparently going to be like blood red as this eclipse passes. So that's going to be really neat. Always love when we have a chance to see these events from Denver.
I've talked about this on the show before, but I was taken out in the desert in a truck.
Okay.
Like several years ago to see a meteor shower outside of an area with no light pollution. And it like blew my mind. I had never seen anything like it. So getting to see even in the city when we get to see really incredible things happening in the sky, I think it's just always a reminder of like, man, nature rules.
Nature rules, and we're small.
And we're small.
It's important to remember.
And this is, so incredible. Hey, everybody. Bree here, popping in for a second. We realized after recording that Elliot and I were talking about an eclipse that happened on Thursday night and not tonight. So I hope you enjoyed it, because we did. Well, Elliot, thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you. I'm so glad to be back, and I just always love chatting with you.
Yes, thank you so much, Bree. Appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Paul Caroli, Olivia Jewel Love, Molly Smith, and Monica Morales Garcia. Adria Gonzalez is our post-producer, and Brian Vance edited our newsletter. Michelle Polizzi and Natalia Aldana write our morning newsletter. Grace Zahn is our audience development manager. I'm Bree Davies, your host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Our ad music is by Cuba Quartet, courtesy of epidemicsound.com. If you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and tell Ghost Canyon Festival organizers Sean Dove and Brian Dooley about us next time you see them. You can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm. You can sign up for our daily newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week.